On the solitary farm in Denmark were tree friends, animals, birds, and humans, all in harmonious self-interplay and interdependence. My father was a farmer and the son of a farmer. He was competent, but very quiet, unassuming, and almost ego-free, living in simple contentment, uncraving, unassertive, unaggressive, and harmoniously at home in the graceful life play. Mother was the same, but more talkative and more social. There were two sisters, 12 and 14 years older than their baby brother. Justine worked as a Red Cross nurse, and Mary married in 1897. There was no apparent influence from them, and very few common memories. Servants and helpers were hired at harvest time, and all lived in harmony, naturalness, and joyous ease. Emmanuel accepted what happened, even enjoyed and endured it, and had no need or urge to seek the company of others. Usually, Emmanuel was a quiet listener, spectator, and observer, in almost unconscious empathy with visitors and people he met or visited. He listened and was interested in fellow wayfarers and in happenings around him. He especially enjoyed biographies, mystic poetry, and such novelists as Dostoevsky, Leo Tolstoy, and D.H. Lawrence, as well as Aldous Huxley, and the plays of Henrik Ibsen, Chekhov, and William Shakespeare. As a child, he vibrated vicariously with the desire rhythms of talkers. Most talkers, when they get an intelligent enough listener or a quiet, sympathetic audience, enjoy themselves and go on and on. To listen patiently was both a discipline and a power. He learned their various languages, though he could not speak them. He also found them interesting up to a point. The ability to listen and respond passively developed a flexibility and an awareness of the beautiful differences among egojis. He had his own rhythm and rightness in silence. And with this as a background, he listened and responded patiently, contentedly, and unassertively. But at other times it became tiresome to listen, to hear the same jazz tune again and again and again may weary a saint's patience, and it was even more wearying for this child. For this child there was neither an urge nor an ability to express his own rightness in either words or demands. In nature and in rich solitude, he found no dis-ease of words or of conflicting desires. There was only a richly satisfying rapport, healing in its peaceful internal harmonies and rhythms. For the child knew, although he couldn't have said it in these words, that the real correspondence is in silence, beyond and deep within, and that the surface fluttering and ego antics blurred this true language. Emmanuel felt no gregarious urge, no call to join any society, organization, party, clique, creed, or religion. This was not due to dislike of them so much as to the vague feeling that joining or belonging to one of them would seem to shut him out from the others, and perhaps he really belonged to all. He also saw that it was almost fear which made people organize and try to shut one another either in or out. He also noted that when people explained, organized, and formulated, they often dulled and deadened, ending up clinging to stereotyped, sterile form, while the life escaped, winged and carefree. For Emmanuel, life had myriad forms to play in and had eternity in its rhythm. He smiled at the ego's attempts to fix and hold it. Ties of blood, class, race, and caste were not strong, and they did not become bondage. The sharing of consciousness and living awareness seemed the most real of belongings. Emmanuel accepted the karmic and dharmic relationships that evolved among his blood people. At times, there were the natural but abortive efforts to be understood by his family members, chiefly for the sake of their peace and quiet, to assuage their fret, their occasional craving to understand and have things explained. What tiresome fuss, what futile trying. Trees and animals understood and did not crave, assert, or try to explain. And with them, he felt the wordless exchange, the salutary, rich content. Since they knew wordlessly and livingly, he would never feel lonely or lost in being alone with them, in animals as nature. When he was drained by humans, both physically and psychically, he would often seek the nearness and the touch of his tree friends on the Viking mound, and they seemed to respond in the easy strength of wholeness. Or did they have to give as he had to listen? Did they feel a power or a virtue leave them, as did Christ when the faithful woman secretly touched him in her quest for wholeness? As we in our immediate prenatal states have to recapitulate our previous various physiological forms, such as the shapes of amoeba, fish, and animals, so also the psyche has to recapitulate, in some mode or other, all its previous essential experiences and realizations. It is the quickness and relative ease in which the individual psyche re-experiences and re-realizes its past that constitutes its degree of maturity, its ripeness towards simple awareness. When games and gratifications quickly cease to satisfy, the pilgrim can make rapid progress in consciousness. We may mystically choose or at least attract our birth, circumstances, sufferings, and what happens to us. But that which matters most in real significance is our attitude. How do we approach what happens, perceive its message, its meaning, and its significance to us? Do we receive with simple, living acceptance, or with ego, pitiful resentment? Do we intuitively learn our lessons and sense our real direction? The maturity and health of the psyche have little to do with body age, but are closely related to true memory. Do we recollect ourself in sincere and mystic clear vision? Do we dimly or clearly consider the whole as well as the parts? Are we aware of eternity and of ourself in moments of degradation and darkness, or when we are feeling the pain arising from the deaths of forms and people who are loved by us? From which center do we live? In storms and tribulations, do we retain a central balance, a sure poise, and a calm acceptance? Can we lose the curse of property, the ease and health of our body, and the blessings and love of friends, and yet be the gainer and the lover in the life that gives and takes?